Right, so a week after I did the previous video, I'm about to look at the results, and it's not pretty really. Well, not all of it anyway. So I've kind of got all the seed packets that have failed me here. I thought we'd just have a quick look. So first off, we've got these from Grow Seed. They're pretty old, and I can't quite see the expiry on this packet, but yeah, I'll sow by 2023. So basically those tatsoi, not a single one of those tatsoi germinated, so I think those can be thrown away. Fortunately, the ones, that little row there from Premier Seed, germination on those was pretty good, so I think we're okay for tatsoi. Don't need to buy any more. And the real disappointment, I think, are these two packets from Franchi, and these are one of my big favourites for spring. And you know, the newer packet actually had really terrible germination. I think I've got like 5 seeds out of, don't know how many, I put loads in, so 5 seeds out of 50 or something germinated. And then the older packet, yeah, so maybe about, I don't know, 10 or something of those. So yeah, I've got a few that I can prick out there, but I've already contacted Franchi. Actually, these were provided by Just Seed, so and they've sent me a new packet of those. Navara, my absolute favourite lettuce for spring, and not a single one of those germinated. Till the last time, I think I used this seed packet, I had like 2 or 3 germinate. So those are from Kings, and so fortunately I've got another packet of those. Now these are meant to last until 2025, packed only this year, so that is a little bit disappointing, to be honest, because normally these last pretty well, but who knows how old they are, because all you're getting is the packed date, not the harvested date. And then the canaster, so the ones that were sent to me, moderate germination on those, so I probably got about 6 or 7. But the older packet, this packet, not good. Very weak seedlings, not really worth pricking out at all. So that's these here. And yeah, so they're sort of quite disappointing. So I think I'll just throw this seed packet away. It's just not worth keeping. And the flashy butter oak, well, they were a bit disappointing as well. So I think I only had 1, 2, 3, 5. Those are those there. 5 seedlings germinated there, and they're from Vital Seeds, and these are pretty new. I only got these, well, a few months ago, and they're really not great. So I'll probably try those again. But yeah, it's a bit disappointing, but I don't want to throw those out yet. I'll just do one more sowing of those just to see what happens. And let's have a hunt around to see if I've got any new packets of these. So yeah, overall, kind of not too bad, because the Lola Rossa germinated really nicely. The Winter Density germinated really nicely. And then, so that'll be the main sort of set of lettuces that I'll be planting, but I'll be able to interplant just with a few Riccia, a few flashy butter oak, and a few canaster. So it's not a total write-off, but still just a little bit disappointing. But the Marathon Calabrese, the Pentland Brig Kale, and the Offenham Spring Cabbage, and the Pendulum Savoy, they all germinated really nicely. So that's those. And as I said, the tatsoi, so the oldest packet of tatsoi, nothing germinated basically in those. That little strip of tatsoi was fine. And then these are the Komatsuma, and they germinate really well. So I'll just show you the other tray. So these are the red stem pak choi. They all germinated really nicely, and they're more Komatsuma there, and pretty much they all germinated well apart from just one there. So yeah, now what am I going to do now? So I'm going to prick these out, but I think since I'm here, I'm going to prick these out because I really don't like these long stems that I've ended up with, because it was just a bit too hot under those grow lights. So we just had like really strong early growth because of the heat, and just not quite enough light, because I had loads of other brassicas and things under there, under the grow lights. I didn't want to have the lights on too high intensity. But to be honest, I don't think I could ever get high enough intensity to stop that first initial sort of, you know, burst of sort of leggy growth, given that the bedroom temperature was too warm. So all of these and all of these here as well, they're all just, for me, just too leggy. So I just want to get them pricked out, and I think they'll look much nicer for it. So it doesn't cost very much to do the pricking out, because I'm just pricking out into this multi-purpose compost, and you know, it's pretty cheap. So you know, it's not going to cost me more than sort of like 10 pence or something for a tray. And you know, for me that's worth it to get better quality seedlings. So yeah, I mean, it's rough stuff, but you know, as I say, I've tried it a few times now, and this is the Erin XL multi-purpose compost, and I think it's a peat reduced compost. As I say, it's rough, there's a lot of wood in it, you do have to watch out not to get splinters, but it seems to be okay. So the only concession I make is that when I dip in the holes, I'm using a pen, whereas I normally use my finger, and that's just to prevent splinters with all this wood in it. But yeah, I mean, I've been surprised really at how well things grow. Maybe not quite as well as they do in sort of the seed starting compost that I use, Levington's Advanced F2. Maybe instead of being ready in 21 days, they're ready in 30 days perhaps. So the nutrition's probably not, you know, is not quite as good, and maybe the consistency, again, maybe 1 or 2 seedlings perhaps don't make it, whereas previously 100% of seedlings made it. But I am saving, you know, a noticeable amount of money by using a compost, you know, that costs £5 a bag, rather than a compost that costs, if I get it from Amazon, £25 a bag. And you know, I could just reserve the seed starting compost for actual seed starting. You can use it, as I say, obviously you can use it for potting as well, and it is great for potting, but I'm not. So just grab a handy little dibber, and I'm going to start actually with this tatsoi. So I'm just going to prick these out, and my objective is just to get them nicely buried so that there's no exposed stem really at all. So I'm just trying to prick like 2 or 3. This isn't tatsoi, sorry, this is Komatsuma. Trying to prick sort of 2 or 3 plants out at a time, and you know, I'm not really that bothered if I don't get all of them, because there's plenty. So already, you know, to my eye, I know this is probably a bit difficult for you to see, but it looks so much better when I get these stems buried. I mean, just little things just become so much easier, like watering is a lot easier when you've got plants that have got this nice compact stem, because you don't knock the plants over when you water them, for example. you know, knocking them over, bending the stems when you're watering is just, it's not a great way to look after seedlings. So yeah, and this is why I do normally just always prick out. You know, I just much prefer it. And I can't even remember what I said on the video as to why I decided to do it like this. I think it was just because germination had proved to be pretty good. So I thought maybe I could just avoid this pricking out step. But you know, you can see it's not exactly time consuming, is it? So I don't know, I just don't really think it's worth trying to avoid it in hindsight. So there we go, much happier with those, they look so much healthier. So I've just got those done, they're looking okay now. So there's a red stem pak choi in that tray and the tatsoi in there. So that's me for Asian greens, and now I'm just going to start with these brassicas. I actually just mixed in that old compost into there as well, because obviously a few of these little Asian greens will germinate, but I'll easily be able to spot them by comparison with the much more mature brassica seedlings. So I'm going to start actually with these little savoys, and these are a bit of an experiment for me. Starting Savoy this early in the year, but well, late in the year I suppose it is. But yeah, if you don't experiment, you don't learn anything. So I like learning, and I particularly like the fact that none of this is written in any books. So it really is a good kind of experiment to pursue. And I've only got 5 of these, because how many Savoy cabbages do you really need all at once? And I've got another succession actually that I potted on last week, and they're looking really nice at the moment. I'll just pop those up as an overlay so you can see those. So yeah, so those are the Preludium or something Savoys. And yeah, then I've got more of all the others, so I'm going to put these in a 9-cell tray. I mean, they're all going to be potted on anyway, so just a 9-cell tray is probably fine. And I've got Pentland Brig, and I've decided to do another lot of Pentland Brig because it's doing really well in the earlier succession that I did. So yeah, I thought it deserved another succession, and the point of the later succession is to see whether the timing of these successions has any effect on when these kales actually decide to go to seed. And the reason I'm doing multiple kales, I've got quite a lot on the go at the moment as well, is to see which varieties are more likely to go to seed. So the different varieties go to seed faster or slower in spring, and different successions go to seed faster or slower in spring. So there's quite a lot of permutations and combinations, and I can't do them all because I've only got so much space for growing, but I can do a few, and I can try different things out each year. And so far I've found that the best varieties are the green curly kales. The red curly kales go to seed much quicker, and the sort of Tuscan type kales also go to seed pretty quick from a January sowing. So that's the only real information I have now. So I'm trying earlier sowings, we'll see what happens. So that's the Pentland Briggs. And then we've got the Marathon. And again, you know, how many Calabrese can you eat in a couple of weeks? Not too many. So I don't need many of these. I normally do 5 calabrese at a time, and that's kind of works well in the size of beds that I have, because I can get 5 plants in just over a metre squared. The middle plant never does particularly great, but it always gives you a little bit. And I tend to pack them in quite tightly from early sowings like this, because the plants will be out of the beds quite quickly, because I've got to plant peppers. Whereas so I don't get very many side shoots, I don't have time to take many side shoots. But if you want a lot of side shoots, which I do in summer, then I give the plants way more space. So where I'd probably put 4 plants, I might only put 2 plants if I'm going for a summer harvest. So that's a March sowing, a May planting, and a sort of July kind of harvest. But that July harvest can then go on for 6 weeks or so of continuous side shoots. So it's really kind of amazing, I always think, how prolific calabrese can be when you grow it at that time. But when you're growing it early like this, instead of a long harvest of side shoots, what you're going for is a short harvest window of lots of main heads, then maybe a week or two's worth of side shoots, and then the plants are out, and peppers or tomatoes or cucumbers or what else, melons, all those sorts of things are going in. So these, what these are now? Yeah, these are the spring cabbages. Now I don't have anywhere near enough space to grow these all to heart up. So I'll probably grow these more like a lettuce or something, just to harvest for individual leaves, cut and come again, sort of leaf harvest over a couple of weeks. And so now, onto the lettuces. And again, I'm just using this compost, which is a mix of the multi-purpose and the seed compost from the trays that didn't germinate. And yeah, so same story here. Taking these horrible leggy seedlings and just getting that stem completely buried so far as I can manage it. So these are the winter density, and I probably mentioned far too many times that I don't really like winter density sown sort of back in September for a spring harvest, or a winter harvest for that matter. I just find it's so susceptible to stem rot. But sown later, tiny little plants seem less susceptible to stem rot, and you end up with really nice crunchy lettuces in sort of mid-spring from a sowing now. And provided you're planting them out in under cover, so under glass or plastic, they're fine planted out in winter. And if there's a really bad frost, you could put a bit of fleece over them or something like that, but generally speaking they're fine. Whereas all those brassicas that I've just done, they are all going to go under grow lights just like these, and then they too will just get planted out under plastic. I don't plant anything out in winter under fleece apart from broad beans and field beans, they're the only things I think that are sort of really hardy enough to cope with being planted out in winter without plastic protection. But plastic, you know, it's not a huge amount of protection. It's not much protection from the cold for sure, but it really, oh god, I'm making a mess of this. It's really good from the perspective of protection from, you know, the wind, really. That's your primary objective. Right, anyway, that was winter density. And then I've got, of course, those failed Navara. I've got to get those sorted out. And then Lola Rossa, just look at the germination on those. Absolutely incredible. A bit of a tangled mess now, but I keep pulling the leaves off. I'm doing a very good job. When the roots get tangled up, it's so easy to pull these really delicate seed leaves off. So I'm really quite relieved I've got all these Lola Rossa, because with the Riccia, the green Lollos, not germinating very well, at least I've got something. These feeble little things are the Riccia, the green. So there we go, that's the lettuce. That's me done for the day. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.